OpenAI has released some numbers and some announcements that show it is kind of poised to continue dominating the AI landscape because the company has said it has reached 400 million weekly active users, which is a 33% increase in less than 3 months, while its enterprise business has grown to 2 million paying customers. So, for anyone saying ChatGPT is dead or DeepSeek is eating OpenAI's lunch, I would probably temper those kinds of predictions because they are just doing incredible at the moment. But the bigger news related to OpenAI may be what is coming next. They are preparing to launch two major updates to AI models that they have out there in rapid succession. So they're about to release GPT 4.5, codenamed Orion. It's expected as early as this week and will be the company's final non chain of thought model. The more significant release, GPT-5, is apparently planned for late May, according to some releases from The Verge. And it represents a fundamental shift in OpenAI's approach because it's going to integrate multiple technologies, according to some comments we found from Sam Altman covered the other week, including OpenAI's O3 reasoning model. So, this kind of unified system aims to reduce confusion by combining the company's GPT and O series models into a single, more powerful platform. OpenAI plans to make GPT-5 available to free users without limits, while paid users will have access to even higher levels of intelligence. Microsoft, OpenAI's primary cloud partner, is already preparing its infrastructure for these launches. And the timing aligns with earlier statements from CEO Sam Altman, who has consistently indicated that these next gen models would arrive in early 2025. So this comes as OpenAI faces increased competition. We'll talk about Grok 3 a little later in the main topic segment. And of course, the legal challenges that they're facing, including things like being sued by Elon Musk, rejecting a takeover from Elon Musk, and continuing negotiations with SoftBank for a potential $40 billion investment that could value OpenAI at nearly $300 billion. Paul, first up, how much pressure is there on us on OpenAI right now to wow us with GPT 4.5, to wow us after that with GPT 5? They are facing a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that 4.5 is gonna be like some amazing leap forward. I think that's a point 0.5 for a reason. It may just be because they're gonna integrate the models and they're not gonna be ready to do that until, 5 is ready. But I do think that, the DeepSeek thing changed things a little bit for them. I think Grok 3 is, we're gonna talk extensively about that next, but that's going to put some pressure on them. I think Anthropic's next Claude, the word I was seeing over the weekend is 3.7 is what
Yeah.
it's going to be called, which is really weird. It's like they just cannot get to that 4.0. So I think that there is increasing pressure. And the thing we've talked about on the podcast recently is, OpenAI was the state of the industry. It was this, the top of the line for 2 years, like easily with GPT-4. And then everybody all of a sudden caught up. And now, it seems like maybe you can get out ahead with one of these frontier models, but it's probably only going to last for, 3 to 6 months before somebody does something else.
Mhm.
So I think it's just more of the this is the state of play now is we're going to have these frontier models that unless someone comes up with the next breakthrough that actually creates some space between them and somebody else. I mean, the O1 reasoning model was copied within 2 months by other people. So I don't know. It's a really challenging space for them. You and I talked, I think it was last episode, like I'm really happy with the naming sequence. Like just go with it. GPT-5 is what the world expects. Like just give the world what it wants, stop splitting these names off and just keep it simple. And then I just think, as we look ahead to GPT-5 and, whatever may be coming from Anthropic, the value of these reasoning models. We talked about this in September of 2024 when they first came out with O1, but
Mhm.
we're now seeing it like Gemini has the thinking ability, Grok has reasoning capability, DeepSeek, Claude, like they're all building this in. And just to revisit that concept for people, if you don't recall, like what's the significance of this reasoning, this is this idea that the models take time to think, that they go through this chain of thought process. and that they're able to improve their performance, reduce their hallucinations the longer they think. And what DeepSeek brought to us was the ability to see that chain of thought, and that kind of forced OpenAI to show more of what ChatGPT was doing with the one, O2 models or O3 models. Um, and so that's kind of where we're at. Is these reasoning models give us the ability to do multi-step problem solving, more accurate predictions, deeper contextual understanding of like what's going on. And if you remember back to the levels of AI, the stages of AI that OpenAI presented last year, level one was chatbots, which was the original ChatGPT. Level two is reasoners, which is they define as human level problem solving. And level three is agents or systems that can take action. So what we're now seeing this year is this sort of like advancement of level two while starting to see advancements at level three because the level two reasoners drive the advancements at the agent level. And
Mhm.
then theirs goes into innovators and organizations or levels 4 and 5. So yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting because I think it's gonna be hard to wow us with 4.5, honestly. Like, I feel like Grok and we'll talk about this in a minute. I think XAI purposely released a relatively unsafe model into the world just
Yeah.
to get there before OpenAI does with 4.5. So my expectation is you're gonna see a lot of the stuff we're seeing with Grok 3 probably with 4.5. And then I think Claude Sonnet 3.7 or whatever they end up calling it is probably gonna be similar. So I think we're probably 1, 2 months away from the model that OpenAI, I would think, expects to be the new state of the art. But
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a future episode, but Anthropic has a little catching up to do with some of these people.
yeah, yeah, and we've talked about it, and I think that there's, I'll get into it a little bit with the Grok 3 conversation, but I do think that Anthropic has probably the most stringent policies internally about what is allowed to be released. And my guess is that they have way more powerful models than you and I have access
Right.
to. I just think that based on their safety levels, it takes a lot of preparation to put those models into the world and feel like they've done their job according to their own safety standards. And I don't well, I was gonna say I don't believe XAI shares that. XAI does not share those.
We have confirmation of
Yes.
that. Before we dive into that, just something that's kind of been more and more on my mind is like, what is the best way, in your opinion, for like your average knowledge worker to be ready when these new models drop? Because like we just got Grok 3, which we'll talk about. We're probably getting GPT 4.5 this week, probably getting GPT 5 in May. Anthropic at some point. There's a ton of new models that are releasing faster and faster, yet very few of us can just like drop everything and go deep on every single one of these. Do you have any advice for like what should I have ready to go that I might be able to help me get any kind of handle on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm increasingly of the opinion, like, you just don't need to. Like, there's gonna be people who do,
Hmm.
who are constantly testing and wanna be on the frontier and wanna know what Grok 3's capabilities are and wanna have done the voice mode in Grok, and then as soon as, Claude Sonnet comes out, they're gonna be jumping in there. My general opinion is, as these models kinda consolidate in their capabilities, it's people are going to switch models less and less. Like you're gonna just say ChatGPT is just good enough, or
Hmm.
like I've got Gemini built into Workspace and it's good enough. And yeah, like their technology may lag behind by 2 months, but like I don't care. Like I'm locked into my 3 to 5 use cases that give me value every day. And if Sonnet's a little bit better, does it really matter? Like I just want to focus on being efficient, being productive, being creative. So I mean, even for me, I still have like, I'm questioning if I should keep them, but I still have a Claude license. I still have Perplexity license. I pay for Gemini. I pay for ChatGPT. I pay for the
Hmm.
the 200 a month ChatGPT. So I have all these models, and I would say I'm still 80-90% of the time just in ChatGPT, in part because I've built custom GPTs that serve specific purposes for me. And then I'll sometimes, if it's a more complex use case, I will go test it in Gemini. I don't ever go into Claude. I did last week for something, but that was like the first time in like 3 months I'd gone in there. I don't ever go into Perplexity anymore either.
Hmm.
I use deep research from OpenAI and Google. So Notebook LM, like that's a specific use case. I use that for what it does. So I don't know. I feel like for most knowledge workers, you just like pick the platform you're going to work in, and you're probably just going to stick to it. And I think those platforms are going to become stickier over time as these AI model companies find the thing that keeps you there. Like,
Right.
I think of the analogy being like in banking, once the bank has like you locked in for direct deposit, they know you're
Mm,
far less likely to churn as like a checking and savings account customer. So it's like, what's the direct deposit equivalent? It might be like a chat, like a custom GPT. Like I'm obsessed. Like it is the thing I get 80% of my value from. So I'm just gonna like stay with Chat GPT. So I don't know. I think as these companies start to productize more and more of these features, like a Notebook LM or a deep research, maybe there's some movement back and forth. But
yeah.
my general advice would be just probably just work with one of the models and assume it's going to be good enough for what you need to do.
Yeah, two interesting things there, and then we can move on. One, I've seen some people start to talk about like memory as maybe that sticky thing is like, oh my gosh, like ChatGPT already knows all this stuff about me, which you could obviously recreate in other tools, but that would be interesting to see over time. But also, too, I think like you, the play to me is like get as good as you can with one of these tools, right? Like
Mhm.
when you hit a wall and you say, I've done everything I can do, then okay, like worry about catching up on everything else because I'd say 99% of people are not at that stage yet.
Yeah, and I think this is, we talked about the AI literacy project a few episodes ago and our plans for our AI Academy. And one of the big things that I'm extremely excited about is we're gonna have this new Gen AI app series. And that's going to be a weekly thing that, Mike and I are coordinating this now and kind of building out the plan for it. We're going to do reviews every week, and models will absolutely be a part of that series.
Yeah.
So, imagine, Sonnet 3.7 comes out, we're going to do a 15-20 minute review of it that will focus on use cases for knowledge workers and say, hey, you actually might want to consider switching to this, or like just informational, keep doing what you're doing with ChatGPT. Like that's the kind of insights we're planning to provide through that Gen AI app series, is where we're doing these like quick reviews so you don't have to. And then if we think there's something that's worth your time to like make a change or at least test a specific use case, we'll call that out in the reviews we're going to do as part of that series. So
Yeah.
again, like that, if people don't know what I'm talking about, weren't listening a few episodes ago, just literacyproject.ai. That's the URL, right, Mike?
Yep.
Literacy Project. Yeah.
Yep.
And it talks about our plans for AI Academy and the changes we're making going into this spring. We're going to launch a bunch of new courses and certification series. So this is a key part of it, is it's getting more complicated to keep up. And so we want to start pushing out weekly content to help people keep track of all that.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. That's like designed to kind of answer that big question everyone has, which is like, is this thing even worth me dropping everything to figure out? Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, it's
Yeah.
cool tech. We're just doing tech reviews. This is like, what does it mean to me as a knowledge worker, as a business leader? Should I care?